Leathering Bladders Guide. We are back for part 3 of the zoo tour of Skansen, and we are at the Scanian farm looking at good sheep or sheep from Gotland. But what we are really going for is what I call the Nordic Trail. It's not actually named that, but I call it that because it's like the path you walk to see all the Nordic wild animals. So the first habitat you already saw has the Arctic fox. The Arctic fox was still in its winter coat and it was a really warm day, so it was just not doing much, taking it easy. Had it very hot probably. This is the lynx habitat, and this is a really good lynx habitat. It's really big, really natural. I really think the lynx could hide about anywhere here, but I did spot the lynx. It was on the roof of a shelter, just resting. Again, it was a hot day, so animals were kind of just lying and resting. I spotted another lynx in another shelter also, taking it easy. But moving on from the lynx habitat, and you come upon a large habitat for Europe's largest animal, the bison, or the European bison. This is a huge animal and of course a relative of its more famous North American cousin. The bisons were actually not alone in their habitat. They were also had two friends, two wild boar, little piggies who were resting there. The bison is not native to the Nordic countries, but it has been in the past, so it's still a Nordic animal. And this is a wolverine. The wolverine are in the old wolf habitat. Skansen no longer has wolves, and this habitat was, I guess, an okay wolf habitat, but it's a really awesome wolverine habitat. Wolverines are nomadic animals. They move really long areas in the wild, so having this large area for it to explore and run around in is really good. It's not as good as the Norden's Ark wolverine habitat, but this is a good one. And the wolverine was really active, really interested in exploring the habitat. This is the stables. It's here because when you walk this path with the Nordic animals, you come to the stables. Now they had Norwegian fjord horses here, a Norwegian breed of horses. They have several breeds of horses, and which one they have here is different. I have seen Gotlandsruss here many times, but now it was Norwegian fjord horses. And now we come to a rather large habitat for a rather large animal. This habitat actually has several sections, and the animal has access, I think, to different sections different times, and it's of course the Eurasian brown bear. Bears are really big animals. There are people who say, "Oh, I could take on a bear, you just give me a six-pack and I give that bear a good punch." No. You can't win a bear. We had 3 bears, I think I spotted 3 of them at least. So yeah, the Eurasian brown bear is one of the many subspecies of brown bear. The American grizzly bear is probably the most famous one, but this is the one that exists in Europe. Now we are at the I think we are at the bear habitat, but this is the owl aviaries, and this is for the great grey owl, but it was really hard to spot, but it had a really great big aviary. And here you can't see it really. It's there in the background, hiding behind a tree. You barely see it, but it was there. And its neighbor is another owl species, the Eurasian eagle owl. Here I have some better footage of it. Also a really big habitat or aviary for, well, the largest owl species in Europe. So we are moving on from the owl and we are arriving at the elk habitat, because once again we are in the presence of royalty, as we see the, I don't know if it's the king or queen of the forest. At this point of the year it could also be a male who has lost his antlers, because they tend to do that, but of course it could be a female, for females never have antlers. This is the elk, and this is the arbor seal or harbor seal habitat. Harbor seals are a smaller species of seal. They have a great little habitat in several sections here. The water is quite deep, which is good. Seals need deep water to dive, and also I think there are 3 seals maybe there were. That's not too many, that's a pretty good number. It's not like you have 5 like you have in Slottsskogen. Yeah. But yes, this is still the seal habitat, I think, yeah. Or this is the otter habitat, the outside, and now we are on the inside of the otter habitat, yeah. The otters were nowhere to be seen, or they actually were to be seen, I'll explain. But they have both an inside and an outside section, and you can even look underwater for them, but they were sleeping, so you couldn't really see them. This is their, I think, sleeping section, and you could see there was something furry in the corner, so they were sleeping there, and you couldn't really make them out. And this is still the otter habitat. It's actually a pretty large one too. They have access to this part that does not have water, so they can stretch their legs. And now we are at the grey seal habitat. The grey seal is a larger seal than the harbor seal. They had recently been fed, so they were quite active, even though they weren't fed at this point. I think they had been fed like 10 minutes before I arrived here. But they were quite active, quite playful yet. And then this happened. Suddenly, just it arrived, yes. A grey heron suddenly just decided to land here in the habitat, and this is not the first time I see a grey heron in that habitat. It might very well be the same grey heron I saw several years ago here. In the olden days there was a grey heron in the ancient times, yes. So yeah, I think it's because the seals were recently fed. They're trying to see if there is something that the seals aren't interested in that it could snatch for itself, but it just arrived and stands there looking. So it's looking for something, probably something to eat. And now we are approaching the end of this trail and the end of the whole tour. This is the habitat for the forest reindeer. The forest reindeer is a wild reindeer subspecies that lives in the borderlands between Finland and Russia in a very small area. It's a very threatened animal, and they have lost their antlers also. You don't know if you wouldn't know the male or females anyway, because both have antlers, because they are reindeer. But this is the end of the Skansen Zoo tour. I will say the Nordic Trail is the best part of Skansen, always has been the best part of Skansen. You can see so many cool animals from the Nordic countries, and you almost always see a lot of them, and they look to have a really nice and spacious and natural habitats. Yeah. They used to have domesticated reindeer instead of forest reindeer here, and that's because this area still kind of has a Sami theme. This feels a little bit like cultural appropriation to me, so I never really was super fond of that. But this is the end of the tour. We are done. Skansen is done. Visit Skansen, visit Stockholm.